No, I can't hear you, James. I don't know if anyone else can.
I cannot.
I can't hear him.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Cool. All right. How's everyone doing? Terrific, huh? I said, how is everyone doing? Everyone have a good day? It's been one of those crazy
Okay.
busy days. I'm about ready to hop on a flight tonight to head out to SoCal to go meet an architect. So I'm heading out to SoCal for all the California people. Let me see. And then we're going to jump right into it tonight because we're going to be breaking down an estimate. I'm going to show you guys kind of the basics and then I'm going to open it up for kind of construction questions. We talked about this last week. Um, how when you guys are running into estimates or what contractors are saying. And so you guys, if you want, we can even role play where you just kind of pitch me what you're hearing. And then I will respond back with how I would handle that. And so as people are kind of loading in, we're going to kind of do again, we're going to break down an estimate, how I look at whether it's a fair price or are they charging me too much, and how I can kind of break that down. And so I know the last call we had a lot of questions about like, contractors telling me this, they're telling me this, they're telling me they don't want to do this, and they're really dictating, which is okay. We have to figure out how to word it to them in the correct manner to kind of get them to do what we need. So, you guys, this is all about negotiating in the right way, not just I need it cheaper. And that's really how we control our pricing is just going to, okay, let's kind of break this down and see whether the price is reasonable or not. So, um, why don't we get going right away? I'm going to pull up one quote and we're going to, you guys, this is a real quote. So, we're going to kind of go through, let me share it. And then again, you guys, even if you were told something by a contractor this week and you're jammed on it, let's talk about it. Um, but, and you guys, we're going to hear a lot of this. I'll, before we even dive into this, here's something I'm already hearing. Okay. I'm hearing guys jacking up pricing, for example, drywall, where they go, ooh, well, we got tariffs now. And so we're going to need to add in a contingency to my estimate of a tariff surcharge, or we're got to charge more right now. We're hearing this in the background, especially on our new construction sites quite a bit. But then, so someone told me this the other day. They go, hey, look, drywall's going, it's gone up in price or it's going up in price. So we got to charge more. I go, okay, well, from what? He's like, well, the tariffs. I'm like, okay, well, drywall doesn't come from China. It comes from Canada and it comes from Mexico. And they just froze those tariffs for 30 days. So there is no price increase right now. And so you guys having those facts, and the guy goes, oh, yeah, I wasn't talking about this job. He immediately backed down. He's like, I'm just saying it could go up in the future if these tariffs go through, right? But what he was doing is he was testing to see if he can get the markup now. And so again, it's just about kind of arming yourself with those facts of what's going on. And just, but doing it not in like I was like, oh, well, what tariffs, dude? They got suspended. Are we talking about cabinets and countertops? Because that's getting hit, but not drywall right now. I'm like, where do you buy your drywall? China? And, so like using logic does work and just, always kind of, um, always kind of break it down. So, you guys, what I wanted to do was just the general basics of breaking down a cost per bid, right? And this is from a flooring guy that I use quite a bit. Um, I always have to price check him. I've probably given him, I've definitely referred him out and given him at least $3 million in work over my life, if not more. Um, and even though I give him a lot of work, that doesn't mean he's not going to charge me or try to make more, right? And so I always have to spot check his pricing. So when I'm looking at this estimate right now, this is from our flooring um, installer. So we can look at how this is broken down. Now, typically, and we kind of make them do this way, is they're going to lump in the floors and the install as one, right? So many, many times you guys will see flooring on your quotes and it will say what's going on, right? So for everyone looking right now, what is the first thing you see, right? So on this estimate, this is coming from, um, our flooring company. It says engineered hardwoods. It's a 1/2 inch thick, 6.5 inch wide, 47 RL, right? So this is the spec that we gave them. Okay. We know that this costs us $3.50 a square foot for this floor because he gave us his material list and we select that. We're constantly asking our hardwood company or any supplier, hey, can you send us what you have in stock right now and what you're also willing to do a deal? That's always a question. Hey, what do you have to burn out? Like if this is a little bit more of expensive of a house, but if I'm trying to get this done on a budget, the first thing I want to ask the flooring contractor is, hey, what are you sitting on that you want to clear out of your warehouse? They will always cut that pricing down. So sometimes floors that are 350 a foot and it's kind of gone a little bit off trend or they only have like a couple thousand square feet left, they will cut the price on that. So I always ask that question, especially if we're doing a more affordable flip. Hey, what do you have that you want to blow out of your warehouse? Because we're doing him a favor so he gives us a better price. Many times I'll cut my flooring cost down by about 35%. So there's one little tip in there. But for these floors, I know they're $3.50 a square foot. So for everybody looking who wants to put their hand up and see what's the problem with this price right here.
Do you want us to put our hand up or just
Oh,
go
there
ahead?
you jumped in. So where do you see a problem with this quote?
I don't see a price per square foot or even the square feet listed for like if it's 350 per square foot, I want to know how are we getting to the 5478 if are changing this for any future properties or just to run the math.
Exactly. Nicole nailed it. We don't know how much square footage he's bidding right there. So we have no way of telling without knowing the measurements ourselves whether that's a fair price or not. And we don't know it for the flooring amount, but we also don't know it for the labor either. And so the first thing that we want to do is I pick up the phone and I'll call the contractor or my project manager will know. And I go, hey, look, hey, thanks for getting us over the quote. I really appreciate it. I just want to confirm a couple things right now. So I want to make sure sawtooth is the right color, that we're on the same page for the material. And then he's going to say yes because we pulled it off his spec sheet. So I'm asking him yes questions first. Like I already know what the answer is. And then I go, hey, I just want to confirm too. Hey, what's the price per square foot on this? Because sometimes prices change and they don't let us know. But usually, like on this case right here, he told us it was $3.50 a square foot. And I go, okay, cool, because that's what you sent us, so that makes sense. And then the next question, then we want to get to let's start negotiating the price or checking the price. And the next third question is, right? So, hey, I just want to confirm this is the product. I want to confirm the price. And then it goes, hey, so Lise, thanks for getting this over to me so quickly. I really do appreciate it. We're ready to get going, but I got a couple questions. How much square footage did you bid? And then that's where he's going to go, oh, I think I have, at this, he's going to start scrambling because I can tell you guys this is a real example in here that I can knock the flooring price down. Because what I kind of, and he's like, oh, I don't know, it was for all the spaces that you told me to, which was the hallways, the kitchen, the dining room, the entry, um, the garage, and the living room. And so I go, okay, well, did we actually ask you to bid the garage floor in this flooring? He's like, oh, no, no, you didn't. I go, okay, so let's take that square footage off. And then, so what this flooring quote was for the entire main floor minus the bedroom on the house. Now, when we pull up, let me show you guys something right now. And this is where you guys, we have to check our own estimates, right? Because we can't depend on our contractor. And again, you guys, this guy's my friend. I've used him for thousands of jobs. I give him my Seahawk tickets often, and I would expect him to give me the right numbers, but that's not always the case. Okay. So what I can tell you is on the main floor, we had 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. The 2 bedrooms were 12 by 12. So 12 by 12 is 140 square feet, correct? Oh, can you guys see my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So 12 by 12. We got 144 square feet. So times that by 2, right? That's uh 288 square feet. Okay. Then the bathroom was 90 square feet. So that is a total of 350 square feet roughly. The entire main floor that he quoted is only 1,300 square feet large. So my ground floor, the main floor is 1,300 square feet. We're taking away 1,300 square feet minus 350 is 950 square feet. His quote is for 5,500, roughly. Let's say 5,480. Divide that by 950 square feet means he is charging me $5.76 a square foot when he just told me it was $3.50 a square foot. And so many, many times you guys investors were like going through, we're like, okay, yeah, the flooring looks about right, and we go for it, right? And we're just approve it. What his real number was supposed to be on this was 950 square feet times this by 350. And you guys, I have asked my buddy Luis here to put in the square footage on every quote. And I've asked him for this for 10 years and he's never done it. And that's okay because we play this song and dance. But now my team is now trained to do it this way too. So his quote that was 5,500 bucks was supposed to be 3325. And there's nothing he can really say at this point because I said, "Hey, thanks for getting the quote. I want to confirm the product. I want to confirm the price per square foot." And then that's where I brought up and say, "Well, Luis, I'm a little confused because we have 1,300 square feet on the main floor. We back out 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. That takes off 350 square feet. That puts me at 950. Your quote's supposed to be 3325." Same thing with labor. I go, and hey, Luis, how much are you charging me to install the floors? Well, it's $2.50 a square foot. So now his install at 4290, divide that by 950 square feet, because that's what he's quoting, is $4.50 a square foot. And so I go, well, Luis, that's not correct. If you're at $2.50 a square foot, you're at 2,300. And we go through each line item this way because you guys, many, many times, they're not going to put the price per square foot and count in. And so that's what we have to do when we're looking at an estimate and go, and honestly, when I got the first quote, I go, okay, this is about for the whole flooring on the main floor, it's about 14,000. That covered all the steps, the hardwood treads, all the bull nosing, and we'll break this down a little bit more too, why this is also very expensive, the labor, the in materials, that doesn't seem too far off to me when you're talking about a little bit nicer house. Like it seemed a little high, so that's why I spot checked it. But really, it was like nearly 30% high because he just didn't put in the right square footage and he was ballparking it a little bit. Many times, I think what he did is he just pulled because if it's at 5,400 square feet or 5,478, he just pulled the tax record information and divided it by 1,300, and that puts us at 420, which is still high for his floors because he's supposed to be at 350. And that's what we have to, I get a lot of comments all the time like, hey, how do you get such great pricing on your construction? I really don't. I pay Like $2.50 a square foot to install floors is not a great deal. That's on the high side. On our apartments, our company actually does $2.50 a square foot, 225 to 250, but that includes demoing, taking it away, and installing. And so I know that my install rate is on the higher side for what market is. And so he's still bidding too high based on the square footage because a lot of times they're just kind of roughly estimating it, not really measuring. And so that's what we always want to do. What is our price? How much is it per square foot to install? How much is the product? We have to then go, what is the actual surfaces being charged? I guarantee you guys, if you look at your general contractor's bids and you break things down that way, they will be overcharging you on square footage almost 95% of the time. And that's how we negotiate people down. I'm not asking them for a better deal. I'm not going, hey, general contractor, I just need my price down. I'm going, hey, I think this is a little bit off here. And it's common in tile. It's common in flooring install. It's common in paint quote. And we want to go backwards off the total, right? Because these floors at the end of the day should be $3.50 a square foot plus 250. That's $6 a foot. Times that by 950. That's not right. $6 times 950. That's $5,700 is what this should have cost me. And his material cost alone was $54.78. So down here, that's what we want to attack. And you guys, so when you get your quotes back, I want you to go through your line items that way. Like, hey, well, how much is this per square foot? Now, electrical, HVAC, plumbing, those are things that can get a little bit tricky and you have to kind of look at them per quote. But on a per square foot basis, you can kind of figure that out. And here we go. Q nose right here. 6 custom hardwood nosings at 5.5. This here says for nosing for the staircase, he's charging $100 per nose, basically 594 times 6. Then we have 3 custom ones at 7 linear feet, a little bit longer hardwood treads. Those are roughly about $120 per tread. I can check that by pulling this up. Even if I just do hardwood treads, Home Depot. Right here, this is roughly what he's going to be bidding here. These are $38 a piece. Then we have $34 a piece. We have, some of the cool squared out ones will be $100 a piece. And so that's again what I want to break down and go, okay, well, he's charging me $120 on this piece right here, roughly per tread. Or no, this one right here. This is about 120 per tread. The cost of the materials is $40. So for every stair that he's putting in, he's charging me $80. Now on 80, it's going to take those guys roughly about 20 minutes at most to put in one tread. And so that's where I'll negotiate down my tread pricing a little bit and say, hey, look, can you give me the exact treads you're putting in? Because I'm seeing that we can buy these things for like 30 to $40. Actually, sorry, I'll back that up. I'll say, hey, can you give me the exact treads that you're going to get? Like, what are those costing? And if he tells me 50 or 60, and he says, hey, it's 60, we're charging 60 to install, I'll say, okay, well, great. Well, what if I can get these to you for $38 and save $20 per tread? Because you guys, at that point, if I have 6, 9, 18 total treads, times that by roughly $25 a tread on saving, I'm always trying to trap him into the back end. That saves me $500 on this one house right here. And so my process for that is, hey, what kind of treads are you putting in? How much do those cost? And if he goes, well, my cost is $60 and I know I can go buy it for $35, I will offer to go buy the materials for him. Now, typically, he's just going to say, you know what, it's fine, I'll match it. We got it good because he's going to be able to get it cheaper than Home Depot. I already know that. And so again, we just break it down that way. But I always want to ask the question first, like, hey, how much does that cost? Or how much does that cost to install each one of those treads? Well, it's $35. Okay, so if it's 35 bucks to install the tread, you're charging me $70 per tread when we can go get them at Home Depot for 35. I'm cool paying a markup, but I'm not going to pay double the markup. And all these little costs are going to compound on you guys if you don't watch these things. That we watch every one of these line items before we accept these bids. The other thing I think we had to do is he had a total in here of 6 plus 3, that's 9, 18 plus 6. He had 24 treads plus 7. We were at that's 31 treads. The house only had 25 stairs. And so those are things that we want to catch again, you guys, because if it's $100 per stair and we're missing that, that's another 400 bucks. And then if we can pick up the material cost, an extra 20, 30 per tread, that's going to be another 400 bucks. That's $800 on a budget that was roughly about 100 grand. I mean, that's that you guys, $800, divide that by 100 grand. That's almost 1% of your budget, but this compounds over and over again. And if I would have accepted this bid without double checking it that way, we would have been paying about $6,000 over, which is 4 to 5% of our budget. And so those are the things every time you get an invoice, I want you to break it down that way because especially if you're over budget, because we can trap them backwards. So it's always about asking that specific question of, oh, hey, just real quick question. And I never go, hey, I want to talk to you about your bid. I go, hey, can I ask you a quick question? Hey, how much does it cost to throw one of those treads in? Like what I know it's $250 a foot to install the floors. Like, what is the tread? Just so I know later. And as soon as he gives me that number, it allows me to back the other way. It's 35 bucks. Okay, well, you're charging me 120. 120 minus 35 bucks is 85. The materials cost $35 at Home Depot full retail. He's marking up the product 2 to 3 times on me. And then you guys, as investors, we cannot pay 100% markups. That will not work for us. And so as you guys are getting these quotes, I want to kind of back them down that way, how to negotiate it, how to kind of pull it up. And right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up because you guys, this process for like looking at a quote, taking the time, we all want to keep moving forward. But to do that isn't too hard. We have to pull the square footage of what we're installing. We have to know what the spec is and what it costs per square foot. And then based on that, we can go, hey, here's the install rate, or what is the install rate? And many, many times they're off on square footage or they're over quoting you. And so it's like that basic, you guys, it's not rocket. You just want to make it, put it into like basic logic. Like, okay, what does this cost? Square footage, back it down and ask the question. You don't need to say, oh man, can I get the pricing down a little bit on this? My budget was 12 and you're at 15. You think you can come down a little? And then he's going, all right, I'll throw in $1,000, but you're still $2,000 over budget. Whereas if you just logically break it down, you're inside budget. And if you do that 10 times over on your quote, if you're $2,000, that's $20,000. And that's the difference whether you erode your profit or increase it or maintain it. And so let's open it up because I know there's a lot of different people getting quotes on things. They're out trying to get contractors, trying to quote things for them. They're getting pushback. And a lot of it's how we're delivering the message. And so I know, John, I see your hands up first.
Yep. Hey, James. Very insightful stuff. I think it's a little scary hearing that someone that you've worked with for a very long time is still trying to overcharge you. It's crazy to think that, like, as a new investor, like how much is probably happening to a lot of us. So I guess there's a couple things I want to ask you. When you're talking to the contractor, should you talk to the GC or talk to the sub? And then also, when you're going line by line, let's say they're not giving you the breakdown when they're giving you the bid. I find it like my challenge right now is being able to move fast enough when we're doing a walkthrough on a property and there's multiple investors that are walking it the same day, and someone is, putting an offer out before I even had a chance to put a bid, even put something together. So I guess, how do you, if you don't have a lot of experience in this and you're trying to figure all this out, is there a way to like streamline the process, or you can be more efficient in being able to manage this? Because it sounds like there's still a lot of checks and balances that we have to go through before we even submit an offer.
Yeah,
So
it's
how what's your recommendation be on that?
well, I would say it's not a speed. So, John, it's not about that one specific bid, because if they continue to do it, right, they're also wasting their own time. So, what I would like, remember when you were walking with the project, I was like, hey, John, still get your itemized bid.
Yeah.
Because if they're over, that's how we can start going through it with the contractor and going, hey, look, I can't get into a deal because your bids are too high. And he wants to get the work and you want to get the deal. And you can kind of come up with that format kind of fairly quickly. But, so what I want to do though is see, like let's say that flooring came back at 15,000, you thought it was going to be 12. I'm going to go, okay, well, let's break this down. So how much square footage did you measure out? Okay, well, it's 15,000. It was 1,000 square feet. Okay, so you're charging me $15 a square foot for this floor. How much does it cost to install it? Well, it's $3. Okay, well, that's a little high, but $3. So you're telling me you're bidding $12 floors inside these flip bids right now? How about if I just go find the materials and I'll get it to you for $250 and you can go buy it? And so we want to kind of go through because we want to see where your contractor, and this is why it is important, because on the houses you don't miss, we got to figure out, or you don't get, why are we so over every time? But you can already miss the house, but you're going to get the quote back, and then you can start working with that contractor on going, okay, hey, well, maybe he's used to bidding $5 floors on things, or maybe he's used to bidding custom cabinets instead of regular cabinets. We have to start narrowing in, because if you like the guy, you trust him, and he just can't quite move fast enough. And if his initial quote was just 10% over budget, but you can then break it down, go, well, hey, if we switch it to this, this gets me down into budget, we should be good, because then it allows you to be comfortable making that decision even without that quote.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So going back to my initial question though, so should the conversation be with the GC or the sub that is doing the flooring, paint, tile, or whatever?
No, it should be with the GC, because if it
Okay.
depends. So that one we were bidding out directly because we were just subbing the house more. It was a cosmetic deal.
Okay, got it. Okay. Okay.
You guys, the good thing about a general contractor, when they give you that quote, once you lock that pricing in with them, let's say that was a general contractor and that was his first initial quote to me. I'm going to say, hey, look, dude, we're good with using $3.50 floors. Here's the spec. You told me it's $250 a quote. Once he locks in on that price, he's going to go try to get that $350 floor for $310, or he's going to get the install done for $2. But he's on the hook to get it done. So you don't need to worry about the sub at that point, because he's already fixed that bid. And that's why it is important to get fixed bids from general contractors, not cost plus.
Got it. Okay.
If it was cost plus, I'd want to talk to the sub directly, because then I'm like, wait, why is your price so high? I got to talk to this guy.
Got it.
Because general
Thank you.
contractors, if they're giving you a fix, they are committing to that rate. That's why we break it down in our budget sheet by install and allowance. So if a general takes that, like when I broke down that budget sheet last week, it had the floors were broken down by an allowance for the floors and then install. The contractor's going, yes, I can look at that install rate and I can make some money on that. And then also it's fixing that allowance to where it's like, well, you have to put these floors in for $350, so he won't put in too cheap of floors too. And so it kind of works in tandem on that.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, James.
Yep. And then, John, did you get another quote from him broken down?
Well, not on the last one. Well, with the last two that we looked at, we didn't even I actually passed. I actually passed on the last two deals that I looked at just because it just didn't fit the buy box.
Oh, but you went out and looked at it with the general?
We looked at one before This is the last one that we walked was in the beginning of March before I went to Hawaii. And then, but the last two that I got from different wholesalers, I passed on them.
Okay, yeah, and then you don't need to worry about those because they just don't work, right? But the one you'd go
Yeah.
out, always get a quote from them.
Yeah.
Because then what we can do is, John, you can bring that quote in and we'll break down some sections and be like, here, this is what I want you to tell them. This is what I want you to tell them. And this is what we need to dig into because then we can get a number where you feel comfortable pulling the trigger on it without his quote. Because I don't
I
have
actually,
quotes ever before.
yeah.
It's about working with my guys and going, hey, this is the pricing that they've established here.
I actually found another contractor that some that I've known from a long time ago. He started getting into the business like a while ago, and him and I have been messaging, and we're going to meet up next week. So I'm going to get some pricing from him, and I'm going to compare it to the other guy and kind of see where they're both at. So and I have some options.
Okay. And you know what, though? Get quotes from both of them on the next project.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then we can look at those quotes that you get. That's what's good about bringing in, especially to open question night. Bring them in. We can snap through it real quick and start, and I'll probably get you going on 20% and then you can kind of mock the rest out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That sounds good.
Cool. Dennis, what's up, buddy?
Great.
Hey, what's up, James?
How goes it?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Just grinding away.
I feel you. Same
Too
over
many
here.
states. Too many states at one time.
Yeah. I'm actually in SoCal right now, and I fly back and forth to Seattle for my agent business, so I totally get you.
Oh, where you at in SoCal?
I'm in Culver City.
Oh, that's a good spot, dude. That's fun. That's a fun little area.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're close to LA, but not totally in.
Exactly. But question on how you go about negotiating the price for the materials. Um, Obviously you're a lot quicker because you know these prices, in the back of your head because you've bought materials over a long period of time. But I feel like if I were to like look up door trims and Google it, it'll take like 30 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever. So for people like us, do you recommend doing homework beforehand on like how much materials would cost at Home Depot before making that call, or just doing it on the spot?
No, I mean, I think it's good because what I do suggest is anything that you're flipping the price point is to go walk a couple comps, right? Like if you're looking in a specific neighborhood and you're like, this is kind of the areas we want to be in, this is our price points. Everyone here should go walk a couple of these houses. Like that is one thing I'm actually doing tomorrow is I'm going out to Newport Beach. We're gonna watch a couple, we're gonna try to sell this house for 10 million bucks. So I need to know what's inside of it and at least feel the quality because then it tells me what to go look for. So walk a couple comps of kind of your typical deal that you're looking at, right? Of going, okay, this is what flippers are putting in. And then, yes, I do think it's good to check that, but you know, it's not. Sometimes I think it's a little give and take. Like when we give them the allowance of 350, it's almost better when they bid because then I can beat them backwards on like, well, how much did you bid for your materials? If they say five, I'm like, oh, good news, I can get you some stuff at three. And but yes, you should walk the comps. And then the thing is, flooring and all these things, you guys, they change so drastically. And so I would say more walk the comps and see like what kind of floors are in there. Are they LVP? Are they pre-finished hardwoods? What's the color tone? And then you can kind of get a rough spec of it. And then the good thing is you can always dig deeper for floors. You guys like right now, like for example, materials. I'm gonna pull something up real quick. Like, and you guys, even though I do a lot of houses, this we still are disciplined to do this because, like what John says, he's like, "Oh, it's a little nerve-wracking that they're trying to overcharge you, and you've known them for a long time." You guys, that's just the name of the game. Like the more you do, the more they try to overcharge you. To be honest, um, but so like flooring on clearance. If and you guys, the reason I always just do Home Depot is because Home Depot is my baseline, and typically I can always find it cheaper. And so, because I want to kind of always, and I know the contractor can already make money at this price alone because they get rebates, they get, um, so like right here, guys, if I'm going through right now, I was flipping a house. It was a mobile home, not the most expensive area. It was a pile of crap, and we were just trying to keep it thrifty because we wanted to sell it more affordably. You know, right here this floor is 329, came down to 299, right? Like I can go pick that spec and give it right to the contractor. And so you want to look at the clearance, but you can always get a gauge too. Like when my flooring contractor sends me a bunch of specs, I'll spot check him against flooring liquidators, Home Depot, because if he's selling me floors that I can go buy cheaper elsewhere, big box stores, he doesn't have a whole lot of value to me. And so I think it does make a lot of sense to go walk through your comps and then go, hey, well, what kind of floors, how much do these cost? Like, are they putting in cheaper laminate that's $1.79 or LVP, or are they putting in nice stuff that walks around on, it feels good, and they're spending $2.99? So, but it's good to know, like right here, you guys, bulk price $1.50 for a 6 ml pat. This is cheap, you guys. If my flooring contractor sends me a quote for LVP for his more affordable stuff that's 6 mil, it's still going to be 225 a foot when he sends it to me. And I'll send this back and say, hey, is there any way you can just go buy this? Because this is $1.50. And so, and you guys, 75 cents on 2,000 square feet, that adds up. All these things add up. And so it's always good to kind of spot check. You guys, you're never going to be able to go super deep, but you can get, the things I would say is, Dennis, like, have you played around with that budget sheet or the thing we went over last week?
Yeah, where it had a lot of the different line items.
Yes, and the allowances in the back right
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
That's what it's kind of made for, is for, like, if you're going through and you're going, hey, I want to flip a bunch of homes in Kent and they're going to be 600 to 700 grand. I'm going to go walk a couple homes that sold in that price range. I'm going to see what kind of flooring it is. And then I'm going to go on Home Depot to set my allowances or lumber liquidators, or call my flooring contractor and go, okay, well, on clearance, if I don't really care about the design as much, it just needs this floor and it needs to be this tone, I can put in $1.50. If it's a more dialed in house, I want to put in 250 because it needs an 8 pound pad and it just looks a little bit better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. It also
It's
sounds like you want them to give them their material price first, because then if you can find it for cheaper, that's how you can negotiate them down, right?
Yes, I always ask them, you guys, what is that per square foot there? Because you guys, the person that gives the first answer and then any negotiation loses. Whether it's a homeowner too, right? Like if it's a homeowner, I try not to ever give my price. I try to get a price out of them no matter what so I can work backwards. Same with the contractor. I want to get the price out. And even if they're not breaking down their labor and their install, I can take, hey, well, what's the square footage? What is the total lump bid? And then I can start hammering away that way. So again, 1,000 square feet, they're charging me 5 grand. They're charging me $5 a foot. Okay, so now I know that my flooring was 5 grand at 1,000 square feet. That's $5. Hey, what kind of flooring are you putting in? Can you tell me how much that material is? Can you send me a copy of it? And if they send it to me, it's 350. Like, oh, well, great news. I like this floor that's only $2 right here, and that works for my comps. Because as soon as they give you that number, you can always grind it backwards.
What about when you meet up with them and then throughout the bid, they're like, "Oh, by the way, what budget did you have in mind for this?" What's a good response for that?
When they're
Or they're
when they're
asking you.
asking you what the
Yeah.
budget is?
Yeah, like, "Oh, by the way, what's your budget on this, man?"
Yeah, so we always do. So you guys, if they really want when we're doing our first walkthrough, and let's say like just recently, we were walking through a house. My budget on the house is 165, and the contractor's like, "Oh, so what's the total lump?" I'm like, "Well, just send me a broken down bid, but we want to be around 145 on this." But just break down and then I always go with, hey, but the numbers are the numbers. So just send me an itemized bid and let's just work through it. I want to make sure it works for you and me. And so I'll like on that, I'll throw them that lower number and then it kind of sets the tone because I already know they're going to bid it above whatever number I tell them. And so, but then, I always encourage that I want to be fair too. Like if my number truly is off at 165, then I'm going to pay them more too. But we're going to logically go through that. Um, and so yeah, you guys, if the contractor's ever asking for that lump number up front, always shave like 10% off on it. And then from there, that's just the opening. That's just the opening, get to know you, right? That's the foreplay of the bid. And then once you get through the foreplay, then it's like, all right, now we got to get grinding down these numbers and send it to me. You guys, that's what you hear me train on. Do not take a lump sum bid. This should not be all the items with one number at the end. You cannot negotiate that. Or if you have a dispute with your contractor, you can't actually break down their bid where the weight of the money's going. And so if they give you that lump sum bid, which a lot of guys will, at least half of them, say, hey, look, dude, I don't care what you just got to put numbers on this because my lender needs it broken down so I can get my construction draws. Always blame your lender to get them to break it down. You guys, it works 99% of the time. That saying of the man with the goal makes all the rules. That's the lender, right? They're the ones with the gold that have the money to issue the construction funds, and this is what they need.
Nice. Thank you, James.
Yep, for sure. And then I'm checking. Alex, I see you say I have someone quoted me for the labor only, no raw materials. I guess I need to compare his quote to others that include materials. Yes, Alex. So if you're getting a quote for just labor, that's totally fine. Go pick your spec, and then you can add in, like, let's say you're going to put in $2 floors. You just add that on top of his quote, times it by the price per square foot, and then that will give you whether it's cheaper or not. Or if the other quote, just have them break out the labor.
Okay, thank you. Because he's also like not buying like nails or like cement or glue or anything like
Oh
that.
wow,
So I
he's
just like
really
saw
just
yeah,
he should be cheaper then, for sure.
that's what I mean. I got to be careful, right, to make sure that there is a discount for that.
Yeah, and then you guys, the more stuff you have to buy, like our tile guys, we supply the tile, but we make them do the hardy backer and the schluter because it's easy to buy. If we have to buy the hardy backer and the schluter, that means we're working more and working harder. His price better really drop down then. And so yeah, you want to kind of double check all those things for sure.
Okay, thank you.
For sure. Victor, what's up, buddy?
Hey, I think Joel was next, so.
Oh shoot, I thought I already hit Joel. Joel, did you pop back up?
Hey, what's up, James?
Oh, what's up, man?
Yep,
How are you?
good, good. Got to catch my breath real quick. I'm at the gym. So, um,
I like it.
question.
Multitasking, bro. Are you are you doing curls? What are you doing?
Well, I'm actually doing bench right now. Well, I was doing bench, so yeah. So question, kind of related. Um, it's work orders. So, for example, like when you do these walkthroughs and you get estimates, how so for example, like with flooring, if you get an estimate, you already agreed to a bid price per square foot for the install. Turns out, like let's say you need to redo subfloors or the floors aren't level. How much of that should be addressed? Is it like our responsibility to address it with them, or should they bring it up? Or and I guess ultimately, who is responsible for that extra cost?
Okay, let me wait. Can you be a little bit more specific? Are you talking about like if like
So,
so j
if you get an estimate, you've got an estimate agreed upon already. Like let's say $3 per square foot for install, and then they start the install, and then they just find out that hey, the subfloors upstairs are gone. They're soft. We got to replace them. Or like in a basement, like let's say they find out that it's unlevel and they got to level out the whole basement. Is that something they should look for before they give you the estimate, or is it up to us to be prepared to tell that ahead of time? Um,
uh
but if it get, oh,
yeah, so I get what you're saying now. So yes, in theory, a good contractor would say, "Hey, your floors are a little bit soft. I'm worried about the subfloors are tough, right? Because they have floors on top of them already."
mhm,
And so that's just kind of a change order at that point.
okay,
One thing you could do to prevent that change order is have them bid it after demo, like when all the carpet and everything's pulled out.
gotcha. Okay.
But like leveling the floors, typically they're going to see it, and a good flooring contractor will say something about it. Most of the times, the guys are not going to say anything, and so those are little things that we always add in to our like on our flooring. It actually says, and I think it might even say it on your budget sheet that we have in our group is leveling floors included in price.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
so I always like to round that stuff in. Now they might push back on that and say, "Hey, dude, I saw you put leveling in here, and you got an inch drop. I got to charge you $500 for Gyp Creek."
Okay.
And that's okay because it's easier to negotiate that up front and get a better price up front if they're going to push back on it. Because if it's a change order, the change order is always going to be like 1.5 times a double what it should be.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Okay.
and so, the unforeseen stuff you can't see in the walls. I mean, there's nothing you can, or on the floor. That's just a change order at that point.
Gotcha.
But then I'm going to break down that change order. Let's say they go, okay, well, for example, you said they got to replace some sheeting on the floor. I'm going, okay, so how many sheets do we got to replace? Well,
Hmm.
it's $500. Okay, $500. How many sheets do we have to replace? Because they'll just say we got to fix the sheeting. It's 500, right? Then I
Yeah.
go right back to that same process, you guys. Okay, so I got this change order for $500 to replace sheeting. Now I know that he told me it's 2 pieces of sheets of plywood to level to fix the dry rot. I'm going right back to my suppliers to go, how much is it to put in a sheet of plywood? Because they will charge the crap out of that, right? Sheet of plywood. I think it's like $38 a sheet right now, if I want to say. Ooh, look at that. Pretty close.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be yeah, $30 for a four by
Okay.
sheet 8, right? And so then I'm going, okay, dude, I get you got to charge me, you guys, and this is important on change orders, you guys, because change orders they will be charging you double and triple because they're just going to throw out a number. I don't know, $500. Then go, okay, how many sheets? Hey man, I know you got to charge me. I know it's labor, you got to pick it up and everything, but do you really got to charge me $250 per sheet to install it when it only costs $30?
Hmm.
I mean, even if I pay you an hourly rate of $50 an hour, it should be $80 and this should be $160 instead.
Yeah.
It's about controlling the change order, not getting out of it.
Gotcha. So
Or the
it's
next thing I
probably
would say too is, can you, something we will do is let's say you had a $3.50 floor in. Hey, oh man, I was not expecting that. My budget's tight. It's a couple $100 to replace the sheeting. Hey, can you send me all your floors at $3 a square foot so then you can trade out the cost if you're able to do that?
I see. Okay. But I guess it's probably best to just get ahead of it and maybe bring it up when you do the initial walkthrough with them.
Yes, I would say
Okay.
if I see the floors are unlevel, I'm gonna say, hey, dude, we gotta level all these.
Okay. Well, I
Uh,
guess even if I don't know they are or not, but just say, hey, you know, how do we address leveling? Or do you recommend just saying, hey, you guys are gonna throw in leveling and maybe a couple sheets of plywood if needed?
yeah, I would say, yeah, because there can be an allowance for plywood too. You could say, hey, I want all these floors level because the leveling will be Gyp Creek where they're gonna pour a surface over it to level it
Hmm.
out, right? That's how it'll
Yeah.
take it from like an inch to no inch, or within a, a fair amount of drop.
Yeah.
Then like on a roof, if they can go, hey, the roof looks a little soft. Well, hey, can you quote this? I mean, how many sheets do you think we might need to replace? 4. Okay, well, will you quote this with 4 sheets in your roof? And granted, they might pull the roof off and all the sheets are bad, or 8 sheets are bad. Or, if my roof quotes come back a little high, I can say, hey, look, you allowed for 4 sheets. Can you get 8 sheets in your quote instead?
Gotcha.
And it's more of a
Okay.
negotiate. But yes, that stuff up front, you always want to try to get it up front in there because then you can also
Yeah.
negotiate it, especially like that roof. Well, hey, you gave me this quote, it's over budget. You allowed for 3 sheets. I'll pay you, but I got to make sure I can't go any higher. Can you make sure there's at least 8 sheets budgeted in for this?
Gotcha.
And then
Okay.
they'll typically commit to that number because they also won't think there's that many.
I see.
But it hedges your change order.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that all makes sense. I mean, I've learned my lesson the hard way with roof and flooring, but I guess just with experience, you start to be able to get ahead of those and have those conversations with contractors. So, I mean, I'm just learning on expensive work orders, after the fact on plumbing and like electrical stuff and framing stuff. You know what I mean? I guess, is there something we could do to kind of help us foresee those potential things that could come up with like a certain trade?
Um, well, you guys, we don't have a crystal ball, right, on these houses. And so the best thing you can do is add a contingency to your budget to catch those, right? Because there could be unexpected. Now, it's all about the details of the quote. So, like John, like Joel, how detailed was your quote? Did it say like install flooring or did it call out like specifics and square footages? The more specific your upfront quote is, the easier it is to catch it.
Yeah, so my flooring quotes are pretty detailed now, in the sense where it's price per square foot, and then we count the number of stairs, um, demos separate, um, and we actually do have a contingency for like subfloor, like leveling floors out and plywood. So those are pretty detailed.
Okay. But like, what
But
about like kitchens? Like, it's all about the details, guys, in that upfront quote. And you guys hear me talk a lot about that through all of our education on these calls. Like getting,
yeah,
because that's where, and then you guys, it's about getting it detailed, but then walking that property again with that quote to prevent the change order going, am I missing anything here?
yeah. So a kitchen's a good example because I'm actually going through that right now. Um, my kitchen estimate was pretty basic, which but I thought at the time was pretty detailed. But now I'm like, oh crap, I wanted to add all these features and upgrades. So now with like this kitchen, I have like maybe 4 or 5 work orders that have been pretty costly.
But is that you changing the scope from your original or because your expectations were different?
Um, both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah.
So,
So one was expectation, like my expectations were different from the contractors. Um, and then the other one was, yeah, I added more electrical stuff. Um, so I guess, I mean, is there a good way?
so
Is
what was
it
the
common?
items that were not in your ex because the electrical stuff that might just be like under cabinet lighting, those things.
Mhm.
That might just be a change in scope, which will happen, right? Like as we check comps or where the market changes, we might want to tweak some things up or down. Um, what was the things that were unexpected on your change order?
So unexpected were, um, I guess countertops. I
Okay.
had wanted, I had assumed, and it's probably more so my fault. I had assumed waterfall. We were doing waterfall on each side, and then also outlets. I had expected an outlet on the island, but I guess it's not to code anymore. So we've kind of been going back and forth with that. Um, but those are the two major things that we've kind of butted heads on.
I mean, to be honest, the outlet I would think would be should be in there. The waterfall should not.
Yeah.
Because the waterfall that adds almost 25% more counter to your kitchen a lot of times.
Mhm.
And so that will be extra. The outlet, I fully disagree with him on that one.
Yeah. Okay.
But then again, it is. Did he budget for a full rewire?
He did not.
Okay.
No.
So if I was budgeting for a full rewire, I would say, and you guys, those are the things that catch us, right? Full rewire, I expect this all to be in there. Because it's outlets in all normal spaces. We're budgeting to wire everything up. If it's a project you're doing more cosmetics on, we got to be very clear. Like, hey, we want 3 can lights in this room. We want an overhead light here. We want 2 pendant lights here. You guys, the cosmetic ones are harder because there's so many things that you can leave out. And so the more specific you are, the better with that cosmetic. Um, because it definitely that those are the harder ones when you're partially doing it because in a full rewire they're going to be doing that in the scope of work.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So I think it's just kind of, I mean, honestly, I don't think I was as planned with my kitchen scope of work that I probably should have been. So
Yes, I think that would have been more of a scope. But like, and do your comps have waterfall?
they do. And
Okay.
like this is for a higher price point that I'm used to doing. So then I kind of went in there just with my regular template of like the last flip I did. And then I realized it was lacking several things. So that's kind of what got me.
Yeah, and you guys, one thing you can do too is like that does help is like especially as you're getting going, like print the pictures of the kitchen of the comp you have if they all have waterfalls and say, hey, when you quote this kitchen, I need it to look like this, okay? Like countertops, cabinets, everything. I need this. Because then it might set the expect. You guys showing the comp. I like to show comps to the contractor. I'm like, hey, I just want to make sure we're putting in this quality right here.
Yeah. So, and then James, I actually had another question for you.
Yeah.
It's a little off topic, but it's still construction related. Um, it's for Redmond Flip. It's the same property that I'm talking about. So we had replaced the panel originally a couple months ago with a permit. And then we got a permit for two bathrooms, and that's replacing like all mechanical, electrical, and plumbing for those two bathrooms.
Yeah.
We've got all the permits approved. Then we went ahead and we did all the demo. We opened up a wall. We put in a beam, which was load bearing. Um, and then now we're getting ready to install our cabinets, and half of the panel went out. So my electrician said that he checked all the electrical inside the house, but he said it's going to be PSC. So I've got a couple things that I could do because half the panel's working, so we could still complete the project as is. I guess I'm just a little worried that if we have to replace the meter, then we're gonna have to pull a permit for it, and that's gonna involve the city, and they might see all this other stuff that was done.
What city is it in?
It's in Redmond.
Oh, yeah, yeah, they're not friendly. That's a tough one. Uh,
Luckily, well, the panel's in the
it's
garage.
okay. So is the meter through Redmond or is that through the utility company though?
The meter is PSC.
PSC. So, and you think you only have to replace the meter or you need to do the panel as well?
Well, the panel's brand new, and
Okay,
that
yeah,
was
that's what I thought you
and that
said.
was that was permitted and approved by the city already. So we're thinking that it's the meter that has
Then
to be replaced.
I wouldn't be worried about PSC coming out there. They're not going to snoop around too much.
Okay, so they're not going to come in and snitch on us to Redmond and be like, "Hey, these guys got some work going on."
No, because the meter's on the outside anyways. They're just going to go check his install and leave.
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
would put just out so they had it was like a copy of the electrical permit panel.
Okay.
And then, but no, I think you're pretty good on that. That's a good thing. It's a separate jurisdiction.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, there's a city approved sticker on the outside by the meter when we replace the panel. So, do you think we should complete the project as is right now with just half the panel and then call in PSC after we're done? Or should we, or does it matter? Could we call PSC now and do it?
I would do it now so you don't keep having problems on your job site.
Gotcha.
And you've
Okay.
already permitted the panel, so I wouldn't be worried about that. If you had no panel permit, I'd be a little bit more worried, but I think you should be clean on that.
Okay. Okay. So I don't really have to worry too much about the city getting involved then.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Okay. Cool. 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 Sounds good. That's
Cool.
all
And
I had.
those are things you guys always want to think about on permits. You guys like who does what, right? Like if I want to pull an electrical permit in the city of Redmond and I'm not going to permit the rest of it, it's like some cities do all your permitting and some have Seattle City Light or a different electrical company in your area. They're doing the other things. And so when you have a city, and this is why I talk about Project Flip, meet with your areas you're going to flip in, find out their permitting process. If it's a city where they're handling all inspections, typically, guys, you want to permit the whole thing because to piecemeal it, they're going to call it because they all talk to each other. Now, if you're working in a city where maybe electrical's outsourced and the plumbing's outsourced and the city's only doing the interior stuff outside of electrical and plumbing, that's an easier thing to pull an electrical and a plumbing permit on. So any house that you're flipping in across the nation, find out who's doing what on your permits because it tells you kind of how to pull permits or when not to. So, I'm going to do Victor next, but I got one question in here I'm going to answer. It says, my current flip at Edmonds has aluminum wiring in the lower floor and copper wiring on the upper floor. It has an old panel with 100 amps. Out of six electricians, three of them are suggesting the service upgrade 200 amps, saying the city inspector would make me do it as it's a flip. I don't think they're gonna make you do it as a flip. You guys, for ampage, it will be based on your draw. Like if you have a 100 amp panel, you could do a gas range, gas dryer, because it's about how much power is being drawn out of your house. Like if you had a gas furnace, gas range, and a gas hot water tank, dryer, that's going to pull less ampage out, and that's where 100 amp will be okay. Um, and the city is going to do it based on draw over anything else. Um, but those are things you want to look into. If you don't have a gas range or gas furnace, you might have to upgrade those anyways, and they could be more expensive. Um, so it says we are not adding any extra load. There you go. Adding around 20 can lights. How do I know if I need a service upgrade at all? I'm getting quotes around 20 grand for rewiring the downstairs. Those are too high. That is way too high. 20 grand from rewiring the downstairs 1,000 square feet panel swap, keep the same service 100 amps. That is your um so what is the square footage on this Edmonds house? Sauna? I don't know if she can talk right now. That is, I think, way too high though. Your full rewire of a 2,200 square foot house with a panel swap out and everything in Edmond should be like 17, 18,000 for the entire house and trim out in there. And that's on the high side, I would say. Um, yeah, for doing the basement, I would say you're going to be around $10 a foot for the basement, roughly in there. So you're going to be around 10,000 for the basement. You're going to be about 2,500 to 3,000 for the panel. That's 13,000. And then you're going to be about 25 to $50 a fixture that you're adding in from there. So I mean, in the 10,000 for the basement's high in itself. Um, so I would say those prices are way too high. I would get different quotes and different referrals on that. Um, but to answer the service question, you don't have to unless you're pulling the right loads off. I personally like selling things with 200 amps because it just allows people to add on later. It seems newer. Buyers like it, especially when you're going for a premium price point. But overall, I would think you're 17,000 with panel swap out and service upgrade. Victor,
Hey, James. In the spirit of this conversation to save money, um,
that's what we're all trying to do.
yeah, I figured you might want to just give people a, I don't know, 3-minute section for a couple of tips that I've learned from you. One being the bundle method and the other one being the jamming method. Um, I know you covered this on Project Flip, but for those that are new or haven't gotten a chance to see that, maybe I thought you could throw that in as well as
Yeah,
a talking point.
very okay. Yeah, good call. Like, all right, you guys. So two methods, and if you guys don't know about these methods, you have not done your homework and watched Project Flip. So I want you to watch Project Flip. You guys, we spent a lot of time talking about construction during that series, but Victor is right. These are the best ways that we save money. So first thing is the jam-in method, you guys. So I call this where when we're walking through a property, for example, like what Joel just talked about, if we're walking through and the contractor doesn't call out leveling the floors and they give me back a quote for the house and it's a little bit high, or even maybe it's kind of right in budget, it's when I'm holding some things back that I know doesn't cost the contractor a lot in materials because contractors would rather they would rather keep their price the same, but put more labor in. And so I always hold things back that I like to jam in on the contractor in their lump bid. And so things like leveling the floors. If I'm walking through and I get the quote, I'll say, all right, that's fine. I'm going to give you this job, but you need to level all the floors in there. Or even with Joel, once we get that full quote back, he can hold back some upgrades. Okay, well, I want waterfall edge kitchen. I want undermount lighting. And so I like to hold back some of my upgrades or like soap niches in the bathrooms. Those things cost more money. And you guys, so make a list of little upgrades that you want or things that, like cleaning the crawl space out and putting a new vapor barrier down. The vapor barrier doesn't cost much. The insulation, all the rest of the cleaning does, but the vapor barrier is cheap. You can leave things off your list so when the contractor bids you high, you're going to jam all these things in because the contractor would rather absorb it in their quote than come down on price. And so always kind of have a little list off to the side. In Project Flip, I kind of talk about things that I like to leave off that I'll kind of push in. You guys, another thing, like one of my favorite ones is like I want my garages painted out on the inside. I never have them quote that on the inside. That's an upgrade that I have thrown in. Um, it could be fencing, painting the fence at the end. I just did this in a house in Edmonds. Fence was fine. It was a little wore on. His quotes are coming in a little high. So then that was something I knew in the back of my head. I'm like, well, I want the fences all painted out all the way around so they look nicer. And I got him to throw that in his price. And if I would have had him add all this up front, I would have just started way over budget. Um,
Wait, question for you. So how are you, I guess when you're building the scope, because when we did that, we built the scope out with all of that in mind because we wanted it to be detailed. So you're kind of leaving, because I'm worried about getting change orders then on the back end. Like, I guess, how does that work in terms of, because when I built out the initial scope, I had it all in there.
so I just delete it and put it on a different Excel sheet and hold it off. And when I get their quote back, I add all that back in.
Okay, got it.
So yes, you gotta make sure that you still jam it in before the initial contract starts. So this is all in
Okay.
the negotiating. And so I just leave it off the quote. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You kind of leave it off the scope, you get the quote back, and then you're like, I just want to make sure it includes these little things as well.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, if it's like the guy comes in at budget or below budget, I'm just like, hey, can you add these in? I'm not going to
Right.
try to hammer on them, but you guys, because right now contractors are always starting high, like that flooring example that I gave you guys. It's high for no reason whatsoever. It's not the install rate. It wasn't the flooring. He just bid it high. And so first thing is I had to bring him down. And then at that point, or if he's like, well, I can't move much on my treads because you may see them at Home Depot, but I'm not going to install them. If I got to buy them at Home Depot, they cost me $60. That's is what it is. Then I might hit him with, okay, well, this is what I need from you. Then I want you to put in MDF risers on it, or I need you to level all the floors, make sure everything's leveled at that point. And so it's a way to add additional scope in without them adding it to their first price, which is always going to come back high already. Because you guys know contractor just comes in. I do a lot of construction. I do a lot of bidding. No original bid that I get is in budget ever. Never once. It's by the time we're contracting them, they're in budget. It's because it's a cat and mouse game. It doesn't matter how much you use them, or they will still always bid what they're going to bid. And you can't blame them, you guys. They're not bad people. If you can buy a house cheaper, you're going to buy it cheaper. If they can charge you more, they're going to charge you more. So it just, I leave those things off. And then the bundle method, you guys, like what that is, for example, I have a house right now, or I have an apartment building. This thing is a pile of crap. It needs a ton of work. It might fall down at any time. And so what I'm doing is the city's being very strict on the permitting. It's in terrible shape. I'm having a good general contractor that I can pay more than my original budget is for. And they're going to come in and do the framing, the windows, the siding, the roofing, the decks, and secure the building with all exterior doors. Now they're costing me about 20% more than it would if I used my normal guys. But by doing this, it makes it go fast, it makes it go efficient, and it causes me less headaches to get the thing done because it's a very tough building. By giving that away, I now can focus on I'm paying 20% more there. I can now focus on the other trades on getting cheaper things like flooring. I can now bring in my flooring contractor who's going to do my tile, my flooring, and I can control his pricing by the spec that I'm picking. If he usually bids me at $5 a foot because I'm picking 250 floors and 250 install, well, then I'm going to go find it for 99 cents for a rental property because I'm overpaying this contractor over here. So the bundle method allows you to overpay some people in certain spots and then underpay in others by controlling a little bit more. And so on Project Flip, I break down a couple, like how I typically will bundle things together to save costs and keep things moving forward. And so go to Project Flip and make sure that you watch it. But very good point, Victor. These are all things that are definitely things we use to keep our pricing down.
Yeah, thank you. The last one I would say is dial for dollars.
Yes.
If you're not taking enough, you're not making enough calls. So.
Yeah, and yeah, very, very good point, Victor. You guys, we don't call if we don't hit our budget. There's a couple things like when we're looking at our budget, if we know it's reasonable and we're getting high prices back, either we've missed something in our initial scope, which we're going to ask anybody that quote, like, hey, where am I off here? Okay, maybe I had 10 grand in my electrical and I didn't budget for a panel and I need it. Okay, well, now I'm over budget by 3 grand. I can deal with that because I missed it. If they're just starting high out the gate, our jobs, you guys, is to call more contractors because we're trying to fill the gap with the person that's not busy. Because you guys, I have an HVAC guy right now. They gave me a quote. His quote was 30 grand on this project. I was like, no way, dude. I gave it to someone else that was at 19,000. That's $11,000 difference. He called me up, chewed me out. I was like, you're wasting my time. I'm like, you're asking me for work, dude. I don't know. Like, and I've given this guy, you guys, at least 300 HVAC jobs, if not 500 over my career with our clients and everybody else. And the thing is, he got really busy in new construction, so his pricing went way up over time, and I stopped using him. Now the builder he works for is not buying any more things because he's not making money and he's out of work. And so now his pricing, his last quote, has came down by nearly 45% because he's just not busy. It's not his cost, it's not his labor. It's he doesn't have the work, so he's filling the gaps now. And so our job as an investor is to pound the phone and fill the gap. If your quotes are too high, call another person. If your quotes keep coming in high and you check with other investors and they say that your budget's reasonable, then call more people. If your quotes are coming in high and an investor's like, you're crazy on your price, it should be here, and you verify that, then you got to pay more and it's just going to be an overage. But pound the phones, you guys. It's just like finding off-market deals. The more people you call, the better deal that you get. The more contractors you call, you fill the gap, you get your job done right. My most expensive electrician that wires our new construction, when he has a gap, he's cheaper than my cheapest electrician. And so find the gaps. That's our jobs as investors, operate the plan. All right, Jason, I see you, but I'm going to get through a couple more of these ones in, or one more in here. I love it. People are talking, trading phone numbers, going to go all hang out. I like that. Um, Okay, so Michael asks, when you say leveling, is it actually leveling or flat? So what leveling floors, you guys, is where you got one side of your house is, let's say, at this level, and then over time it's dropping like an inch or a half inch, and it can go up to, hey, ask Victor. Victor's basement dropped like 6 inches, I think. Isn't that right, Victor? Or five? So it was a big one.
Yeah, I think it was 5 inches over 12 feet.
Oh, and we threw that in your quote originally too, right? Like we said, level all floors, right?
Yep.
So you guys, by putting this in, and Victor bought a property through Heat and Dainerd, and so he got, we checked on some things, but by just putting that in, and we jammed that in his quote was just, hey, level all floors. This contractor had to take it from one side and float it down and draw and fill a 5 inch gap on that. And so what they do is they come in with Gyp Creek, and then that's a self-leveling, and it levels it down and gets it within usually about a quarter inch. Um, that's where a flooring company is going to be able to handle that. Now, you guys, once it goes past like 5, 6 inches, and if it's on a main floor, many times you have to jack the corner up of the house up, 3 or 4 inches, and then put plywood in, and you still then have to level it out to keep it smooth.
Is Gyp Creek, is that like the self, it's not like, is it self-leveling concrete or is it different than that?
Yeah, it's a concrete surface. Michael says I
Okay.
don't like to use the term leveling. I use flatten unless it requires to be level. Capital. Michael, that's just the leveling the floor is a construction term that they all understand. So I would just stick, use whatever terms you like, but that's the one I use on every time, and it keeps things, um, keeps change orders off of me at least. So
Can I ask a quick question about that, about like leveling the floors?
yes, yep.
If you're on crawl space, are you using that same stuff? Because like, were you at all worried about compromising like the foundation or like how do you
Oh
kind of
no,
handle
no,
that
no!
whole
It's
thing? That if
super.
it's
It's super super light. So this is a
yeah.
product that goes on, and they come in with a hose or they patch it, and then it fills it and floats it. It's not really heavy. They put it on plywood all the time.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's just a surface that kind of balances it out.
Okay, so they'd put it right just on top of the plywood and then that would level it out.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And then Michael says if the floor drops more than a half inch, I would say definitely want to get it flattened or leveled, whatever you want to call it. Is it just getting flat with the rest of your floors? I'm not understanding this, Michael. So if your floors drop a half inch, that's not going to be good for resale. Is it still just getting it flat with the rest of the floors?
Yeah, sorry about that. What I was meaning was when you say level, and only reason I bring that up is I have some flooring background. Level is different than flat, and flat means that the floor has to be, within tolerance for whatever flooring you're putting down. So if it's hardwoods, it's got to be, less than 3/16 and 12 foot. So there is a code, but it doesn't have to be level. So, and when I think level, I'm not thinking, plumb necessarily, but a floor to be level, you put a level on it, you can see.
And that's
I'm talking
exactly
about
why I say
flatness.
level, Michael. So when a flooring guy comes in, he goes, "Nope, this was flat. It still can be this much out of whack, but I can't sell the house. I can go back and hammer on them."
Well, no, if it drops, yeah, if it drops, then they need to have it within a reasonable, and that's usually less than a quarter inch
Yep.
difference in variance overall.
Yeah. But
Okay,
so I use the word level because it pins them in, right? Because there's always
yeah,
an excuse. Now, from a
gotcha.
flooring contractor side, I would want to use flat too, right? Over level, because then the owner can go, wait, this isn't completely level. Now you have to rip these out. And that's so I get so it's you guys, words matter, right? Like, so if you think about that, like Michael said, he has a flooring background. He's saying flat because he doesn't want a homeowner to be like, hey, this is 1/8 inch off and you need to level this out. And so he's trying to protect himself. I say level to my contractor. So when they're off by a half inch, I can go, no, dude, this ain't working for me. You got to get it closer than that. And so it's all about being reasonable. But yes, words matter, right? Like, and this is actually, Michael, I'm glad you said this because this is a prime example of the contractor is going to push back and say, well, this, and this. And then if that's the dispute, like even if me and Michael are talking right now, he's like, well, dude, hey, I'm not using the word level. That means perfectly level. I'm not putting that in my quote. I will use the word flat. And I'll say, okay, fine. You can use the word flat, whatever you want to do, but I need it within a quarter inch. And then that's agreed upon that the floors will be flattened out at a quarter inch drop at most. And then you're protected because I have paid guys and then they don't, it does have the hat. You guys, things like that will affect your resale dramatically. Like when people walk in and it doesn't feel straight, they go, this is a cheap flip. And so that will really, really dramatically hit. But yeah, no, you're spot on that one, Michael. Actually, that's words matter. You guys dig into them. And if there's not clarity, write the clarity in within a quarter inch or a half inch or whatever it is. And then Alex says, I've gotten around 20K too for the electrical quote. But Alex, so you guys, this is important too. So Alex has a quote for 20,000 on her project. The scope of work. So Alex's is a bomb went off in the inside her house and she took on a big project. So 20 grand for her scope of work seems a little bit more reasonable because it's a full rebuild. On the Edmonds project we were talking about, that was a full rewire at 20 grand for half of the house and upgrading the service panel. And so there are different types of scopes of work there. And so, and also they're different markets. So different markets do change in pricing, but that's a good example of Alex is actually probably getting a better deal because the whole thing's getting redone, whereas the other person's quoting them for a full rewire at half the amount of scope. And so, you guys, it's really important to understand what they're doing. This is a great conversation. I'm having fun with this. So, Jason,
What's up,
what?
James? I have a question outside of pricing. Is it okay to
Oh, of
ask?
course, of course, of course, of course, of course.
Okay. May I share my screen?
Yep, yep, yep.
Let me see here. So, can you see my screen right here?
Yeah, yep, yep.
Okay, so this is the Rambler flip that
Hey,
me and
those
my
are some good looking subfloors, though, bro. We were just been talking about leveling quite a bit.
thanks.
This is
Uh,
Did they do all new subfloors?
no, yeah, actually they did. We had
Yeah.
to raise it up a little bit. Um, but so this Rambler originally like it was a garage and converted to like a storage place, but we're converting this to a master. Um, and last time we're changing the shower out because last time you told me on the master bathroom do shower, right? So
I
we're
didn't
gonna
know you already paid for a tub, dude. I thought that was just in the planning. Sorry, I wouldn't rip that out.
Oh, you wouldn't?
No, I don't think it's gonna be. That's just when I'm planning it out. I wouldn't, don't spend more money doing that.
Okay. Well, my partner might have already done it. So.
That's okay. But
Um,
sorry.
all
We
good,
were just
all
talking
good.
about, I didn't actually see the space with the tub in it.
Yeah, so the behind this wall right here, that's like the kitchen, and it was originally where the opening is, but we blocked that off. So this is gonna be the master bathroom. And my question for you is, I'm a little concerned just looking at from the buyer's perspective, if they have a master of their own, but they don't have a walk-in closet, is that a huge deal? Would that affect the resale value? Because right now, like where my mouse is pointing, that's just gonna be like a his and her closet.
So what did the comps have? That comp that you were referencing at 600 that we looked at that was dialed.
I think that actually, I think they had a uh
Yeah, because we definitely want to. Now, granted, I wanted to get a walk-in closet in this house that I just purchased, and it was getting tight. And then I looked at the comps, like, oh, these don't have walk-in closets. What am I stressing about? So I opted away from it, even though I always try. Um, but if it has it, yes, I do, because you're going for that same price point, right?
yeah, they sold it at 650, but I think we're gonna try to get it at 620.
Yeah, because they kind of broke the record in that neighborhood.
Definitely.
And so if you're going for a market leader comp, we want to match the same type of scope. God, I really don't like how they did their siding personally, but that's
I
not.
don't like it too.
No, you guys, and granted, if you like it, that's cool. But like, just real quick, sticking with a theme on a house. And and I will say these people also sold this house for a lot of money. So what am I to say? Um, but
The
shit.
colors themselves are fine, but it's just the way they sized and
Well, and it's just a different thing. They have really modern siding
yeah,
on the outside.
yeah,
Then they have their cedar breaking inside their window. You guys, when you do accent
yeah.
siding, run a brake line. It needs to be clean where it ends. And then also, then they have very traditional gridded windows in there on a modern scheme. And so I don't know, it looks very confused to me personally.
Yeah.
But it's sold for big money.
But let me look at the master bath to see if they
Oh, yeah, that's a walk-in right there, dude.
yeah.
That's a big walk-in.
Yep.
And then go to their master bath.
That's I think hold on. I think wait.
There it
I
is.
Yeah, I think that's their master bath.
Yeah. I would try to get a walk-in, dude, because if you're going for that price point, they're I knowing that area fairly well, they're typically like high fives houses, a little bit low sixes, but they
Yep.
got a big premium. And if you're going for the premium, that's fine, but we want to match the same amenities.
Yeah. If we're just trying to get shoot for like 620, do you think we need to do a walk-in closet or you think we're okay?
No, but you had a really long, how long is that bedroom there?
I don't have the measurement on top of my head.
I mean, by eyeballing that, that looks about 16 feet, roughly,
Yeah.
which would allow you to bring a 4 foot walk-in on this corner here. Because then, as long as you're at 12 on your bedroom, I think that feels okay.
You said 12 by 12?
Yeah, I would say 12 by 12. Try to stick with like a 12 by 12 on that.
Okay, bedroom.
And so, if on that back side of that bathroom wall, you might be able to pick up 3, 4 feet and get some extra closet space. Because if you can get a 4 by 5 closet, that's
Uh-huh.
fine for a walk-in.
Okay. 4 by 5.
And don't force it either, though.
Got it. Okay.
Because what I probably would have done instead, Jason,
Hmm.
because you have this long room, is I would have flipped the bathroom to go the other way, so it would have been longer going into the room, and then do a
Oh.
walk-in closet right next to it. Because
Oh.
your room's it's a little bit, I would say it looks like it's about 10 and a half wide by like from bedroom to back wall, you're probably roughly 20 feet, 22 feet. And I would have ran it that now, but don't rip out all your plumbing and stuff right now. Like
Okay.
that, but that's probably how I would have done it next time because you want to go towards the space when it's a little bit longer and narrower.
Got it. Okay. So you'll want to put the bathrooms, if it's longer, you'll want to put the bathrooms at the end.
Well, I just want to cheat into whatever space is off balance, right? Because if it's a little bit narrow, because that bedroom's a little narrow right there,
Yeah.
if it's longer, I'm going to try to force everything long ways, right? So you would have walked in, it would have been like double vanity, toilet, shower. That's going to eat up 9 to 10 feet in that bedroom space, which would have kept you around 12. And then you could have got a big walk-in closet right next to it.
Yo, got you. That makes sense. And then another question I had just following up with, like design overall. So, the flips I've been doing is me and my partner. I'm just the money guy. And with all the designs and everything, he's coming up on his own. Um, and I feel like a lot of times we're just guessing in the dark as well. So, if we were to hire somebody, right, say like from Heaton Daner, like Victoria or Megan, um, is that something that, that's they will be able to help us kind of plan like, okay, you need to blow this wall out to make better use of this space, etc.
Yeah, that's it. I would say not every broker's that way. Our broker team is. If you hire us, we'll actually lay out the house too for you.
Okay.
So the design is the layout and the materials.
Okay.
And you guys, because the layout's the most important part, to be honest. The I mean, look at the house that sold. I don't like the look of it, but it sold for big money. It had a great layout, and it was really well done on the inside too.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do that on the next one just so like we don't keep guessing in the dark.
Hey, we are always for hire, that's for sure.
Also, I send you a text on the deal we're working on. So
I'm gonna call you. That does kink it up a little bit. It slows the deal down a little bit. So I wanna strategize with you on how we can do that for them.
okay.
I'm thinking, what if we can put up more earnest money and release it to them,
Yep.
and then close it right when they need.
Yep.
So they're getting a chunk of cash up front, so they feel good.
Yeah.
But then we're not sitting there racking more hard money costs because the deal's pretty thin.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm definitely gonna call you about that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep. Purdy, you're up. And then give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab my laptop charger because I want to throw it on real quick 'cause we're running low. Now I knocked the power out of my room. All right. Go. A little dark, but that's okay. Purdy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I just have a completely unrelated question
That
about
is okay.
comps. So I was looking at on-market property, and the comps were literally like all over the place. Like couldn't figure out what the comps would be. Like one house sold for 500, the other sold for 630, the other sold for 460. I'm like, if like I just wanted to get some guidance if you run into that situation, like how to figure out the actual comps.
Yeah, can you pull them up and share them?
Yeah, sure.
Let's look at them. Sometimes I gotta look at those a little bit more to kind of. Yeah, you guys comps are hard right now too, especially. And you guys really watch the actives. That's the big thing, actives and pendings, because the market's kind of, stock market's gone down. There's a little bit of a jolt going on, and so you got to kind of be patient a little bit right now. And then some stuff's still selling like hotcakes. You just never know.
Can you see this?
Yep, right here, 339.
Yeah, so that's the actual property.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, it has a weird type of layout also, but yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look like it's that bad a shape though. But I have a different threshold for houses. But I mean, it does have vinyl windows. It does. All right, let's look at the layout. Okay, so a little awkward layout. Okay. So you have a total square footage of 1,260 square feet with a 520 square foot garage.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are your comps looking like?
And then the comps I was looking at was like, so this is the general area where that house is. And then like, yeah, I was just looking based off of like the square footage of the house, the actual lot size, and then the built year. And then, yeah, you can see like in this area, it's like 500, 460, 630, 635. Everything is like all over the place. So let's see, like this 500 one is like 938 square feet.
Okay, and that thing's totally dialed in when we look at that, right? Like they've done the
Yeah,
siding.
completely like redone.
Okay, so that's a good looking house. And then what was your other comp that we're So we have our 32938 smaller house,
Yep.
and then they're not too much different in size, but I mean yours is about 20% bigger, so that's sold for 500.
Yeah. And then like this house is actually, it's not redone, but it's
Oh,
almost the same square footage.
oh, can you go back real quick to that one comp though? So you guys, things I'm looking at
Yep.
is right here. That's on Julian. And Julian is not a busy road, but is this back to a busy road?
Oh, this one?
Is that a main cut through Irvine?
Oh, this thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I
It
don't
looks like it's
think
two
so.
lane and goes into one. So that's just something to think about that I'm going to put in the back of my brain that this could be I'd want to look at that street, but if that's a busier road, they're going to have a noisier backyard. So I'm going to go, okay, well, but maybe there's a factor there. So let's go on to your next comp.
Okay. So this isn't a redone house. This is just somebody's like lived in property.
So same square footage,
Yeah, pretty much almost the same square footage, but not redone.
like rent ready, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, but it does have, things to look at though. It's got vinyl windows, a newer roof. I don't know what the hot water tank looks like. So it's basically been updated for living, but not cosmetics.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And I will say that comp right there is 1,160 square feet, which is 20% bigger than the comp at 900. That's nice.
Yeah. And then if you go like a slightly down, it's like 630, 635 comps. Almost the same square footage, 1,200.
Okay, so that there, let's look at this, guys. So why would this sell for more?
Yeah, this one definitely, like you showed one of the properties with like this one had all the glass, like basically you can look out every time. So this one I can understand. This is like a completely different architecture house.
And that tells me mid-century is in high demand because that's a mid-century house. It's tastefully done, and that's a cool house.
Yeah, that one is definitely a cool house, so I can understand why this would go for a lot higher price.
Okay, so that's our cool house factor. So we know we're not at 630.
Yeah, but then there is a 635 house also, which
Okay.
is not that cool. There's one right here, and this is a slightly higher square footage, 1,300. I mean, it does have some features that are cool, but like,
So these two houses are right by each other too, right?
yeah.
Okay, is this like a mid-century neighborhood? Is it a different neighborhood than yours?
I mean, it's slightly away from the actual subject property. Like this is the general area where that is, and this is like slightly away from it.
Okay. Go back to your house. Can I take another look at it? The front of it. Okay. I mean, it's a good looking house. Um, Honestly, if it was me, I'd probably pull that bay window off and suck it back in so it looks a little bit more contemporary. But hmm, okay. Let's go back to the comps again. Sorry, I just have to. And there is no difference between Evans to Harvard, like the sections are the same, roughly.
I mean, there will be like slightly different because this is like a full housing neighborhood, and
Okay.
in this section there is like some restaurants and some other stuff in this area.
Okay. And what's that comp at 507 north of there?
Oh, this one.
Okay, 1,300, 542, which I feel like those two houses got a premium because they're mid-century vibe, both of them. Because this is not a terrible house right here. This is not fully updated either, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
this would
it's
almost tell me that, yeah, I mean, because the thing about your house is you do need to get it to a 3-bed, 2-bath. Every comp that's selling for higher is a 3-2 or 4-2, right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So we know we need to add that in. What's that one at 500? Can I look at that one too?
Yeah, this is the one that we were looking at
Okay,
originally.
that's the one. Okay. And what did that sell price per square foot on that? Let me see. Because now what we're going to do is we're going to check the renoed bigger houses price per square foot. So this sold for 533 a foot. Go back to the mid-century one and see what that sold for. Because everything that we've looked at that hasn't traded high has not been that dialed. And then this sold for 495 a foot bigger. Okay. And so I'm looking for, when there's not an exact comp, I'm looking for more of a trend going on and going, okay, well, where are we looking? And go to the 635 one. That's a little bigger house. So that sold for 483. Okay. And then your other houses that were trading that weren't trading that high, it looked like they were kind of selling in that 390 a foot range.
This one?
Yeah, let's see what that sold for a foot. It's like a 390,
Yeah,
400.
397.
Yeah, 397. Okay. So what we are seeing though is this is I'm taking two data points and I'm going to blend them together a little bit. So we can see that there's a common baseline for renovated comps. They're 475 to 500 a square foot. That's kind of what it's selling for. We
Yeah.
have this helps us a little bit because at 400 a square foot, you get a very basic reno at that point with very minimal upgrades. And so I can feel pretty good about putting a blend on that. I got 3 comps that are all in that high 400, low 5 the square foot. I have a dated comp at 400. And so I know I'm going to be anywhere between 450, 460 a foot on the conservative side
Okay.
because there's nothing renovated that is sold for less than 470 a foot there.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is that square footage? Your square footage was how big again?
1260, I think. Yeah,
Times
1260.
that by 460 a foot. I mean, that would put you at a value of 580,000, and that's conservative at that point.
Okay.
I think, I would hate to go up to the mid-century neighborhoods because they're just two different houses, a little bit different styles. And so if I took 10% off those prices roughly, that's going to put me around 599, 600 on this house.
Okay.
And so I feel pretty comfortable. And again, I don't know this market, obviously, but that's what I'm doing to kind of bring those numbers together. And I feel like your ARV is pretty solid at 600. Now, one thing that I do like is there's not a lot of actives in that area whatsoever.
That I haven't looked at that
Okay,
yet.
let's look at that real quick. And you guys, this is important. So like even an unfamiliar area, this is how I'm going through the data in my brain. So we have one though that I want to know about right there, 629. So you do have this pocket of houses that are active right there. That looks like a pretty bang out renovation right there.
Yep.
That's a good house. Someone did a really nice job on that reno.
Yep.
So I want to call that broker and see what's going on with how many showings are they getting? What's their activity? Because I would think if I was comping that house right there, that would be worth, oh, it's only a 1 bath though. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1 bath. Let's look at those other comps real quick too. That was a bad mistake. They put a lot of renovation in that house and didn't add a bath. Not a good call. And then you have another bath, but that's a 1 bath, so let's not worry about it too much. What does this guy do? Like a pocket of 3?
Yep.
And then we have a 3-2,
Doesn't look like it's renovated though.
650. Okay, so this is one we want to call on though. because let's find out how many showings are going on. Again, this is kind of in that mid-century neighborhood. That's at 650. And according to the other comps, that should be trading kind of in there, that 640, 650.
Mm-hmm.
But keep going. Okay, you know what though? It's not as renovated. So they're priced their house at what the other house is sold for, and it's missing some upgrades. And so I feel
Yeah.
like conservatively, you're pretty good at 599 if you add that bathroom and make it a 3-2. But you
Mm-hmm.
could creep up a little bit. But let's find out what the action is on this house right here too, because they're all at 522 a foot. And at 522 a foot, that's higher than the comps, and it's not as dialed, so they're overpriced.
Yeah, I think that's why it's been sitting on the market for 51 days.
Yeah, because they're priced wrong. They should be like at 619 on that house, probably.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of active inventory for 3-2s. Those ones that are renovated, I'd find out why they're not selling. I'm guessing it's because it's a one bath.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel pretty good just because of what you've told me about the Denver market too,
Mm-hmm.
that it's kind of cooling down a little bit. I would lean into that 599. And then there's a coming soon right there, Purdy, that I saw on your list. Right there, 599 coming soon. This is going to be more kind of your house, but that Raleigh looks like it could be a busy street. But if that's coming out at 599, we want to know what's going on there because I would call that broker too and see what their action is because that's going to be more of a comp for you, more traditional style house that's fully renovated.
Yeah.
But I mean, you found a buy. It looks like there's a spread there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good house right there.
Yeah.
And so call that broker and see if they're getting any action on that. Because it's coming soon, but they'll still get calls.
Okay.
And then if that's getting no calls, I'd be a little concerned about 599 as my value.
Okay. Yeah.
But I do think,
Yeah. It's just one day on Zillow. So,
but you know what? By the time you call him, I would call him like in 2 days. That will tell you the action, the inquiries, how many people are looking.
okay. Okay. Yeah. That was a good learning, I guess. Go price per square foot and average it out based off of like what it's selling for.
Yeah, and that's not always the case. You know, if yours was a little bit more mid-century, I just don't want to undervalue the mid-centuries there because I don't know what the impact is. If
Mm-hmm.
it was just I was looking straight comp for comp, I would comp it at 625. But those were kind of cool houses. They're clustered in a little bit different area. And so for me, not knowing the area, I'm going to be below that. And that gives me that blend where I feel pretty good because it puts me at 460 a foot at 599, 465. That's below the renovated comps, but it's also higher than the kind of as is comps.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah. I'll check with these and then see these kind of houses actually go here pretty quickly. So that's why I was trying to get.
That's a good price point. That's a competitive price point on flipping for sure. So, but you know, run your numbers at it. And I mean, I think that's a buy. It has some good bones. You definitely got to reconfigure it a little bit, but you know, I think you can feel pretty comfortable at 600 on that house.
Okay. Yep. That sounds good. And like normally, do you recommend just putting an offer if the numbers work or actually like going and seeing before putting any offers?
Because you don't have a broker that sent that to you, right?
There was a broker who sent this to me, but I looked at it myself today morning, and then in the afternoon, the broker also sent it to me.
Okay, and what did they think it was worth?
He hasn't actually told me the comms. I was gonna message him after this call about what he thinks are the comms for this.
Did he just put you on a drip email?
No, he just whatever he looks at, he just sends it to me, and
Okay,
then
let's train him. Hey, if you're gonna send me a property, send me comps with it, okay?
yeah.
Because if not, it makes more sense to just call the broker directly on the listing and try to get the best deal with him,
Mhm.
right? So just make sure they're adding value. Say, I appreciate you sending this to me. I already kind of looked at this and I definitely want to work with you, but you got to give me a little bit more and give me some comps so I can kind of dig in and say, I want recent comps, price per square foot, what you think it will sell for when it's done.
Okay.
And then that way he helps you with your timing too. Because I mean, he should know that market better than me because I don't know that market. It's but let's make him work for his money.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
cool. No, it looks like a good house though. I like it.
Yep. I'm gonna see what happens with it. But thank you for going through that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, for sure. You guys, and that's you guys, that's what I'm doing is like, guys, I don't know thing. I mean, we're always going to buy houses. We're not going to have direct comps. You know, we start pulling, we want to see what's in the area, what's active, and then sometimes we got to kind of blend it together right now. So, Alex says regarding our floor joist master bedroom, we said earlier, contractor suggested an 8 by 8 by 16. That sounds pretty beefy. The room is about 17 feet long. That sounds about right. I can't tell you exactly, Alex. I'd say an engineer could, but if he's feeling good and it's bigger than the beam that me and you looked at, I would feel comfortable putting that beam in.
Okay. I'm just concerned about how they're gonna get in the house.
And that's on him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about his problem. That's not your problem. That's in the labor.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Well, I got to get ready to get on a flight very soon. And so is there any minute last questions for tonight? I can't go I can go double tonight and go 2 hours. I just don't know if I can do three because I gotta catch this flight. Last minute questions. All right. Well, you guys, we will be next week. I think we're actually open on questions tomorrow next week. And so we'll be whatever you have, bring it in. Purdy, let me know how that offer goes. I want to know always, you guys, if you bring in a deal and you're writing an offer, will you please close the loop for me on the next call? I like to know what happens. So, and it will help me give you good feedback. So close the loop with me. Let me know how that goes.
For sure.
And we will go from there. Off to SoCal, guys. I'm going to go try to do the biggest flip I've ever done. I will let you guys know. Hopefully I don't swing and miss on this one because if I do, it's going to hurt. So we'll go from there. All right, guys. I will see you next week.